This is the Effing One Podcast, Australia's only Formula One podcast with Adam and Luke.
G'day and welcome to the Effing One Podcast, the solo podcast that brings little known facts, useless scenarios and adult themes to the fastest race cars on a track in the world. This seductive, fashionable and downright dirty episode will leave you breathless and asking for round two. But I'll be sleepy and I need at least 1 week recovery. To get this party podcast started, take your pants off slowly, light a candle, lay back, spit in your hands and get stroking. Let's dive head first, pants down, into another shameless shit show of the audio variety. Don't forget, we have our own token charity, Handjobs for the Homeless. Now, if you want to help out, go down near your local homeless shelter, give them a bit of wrist relief, and you will leave these homeless people. You can't give them money. You probably can and you should, but what they don't get frequently is a bit of a release, a bit of a to start their day. You know, nothing says start your day under a bridge in a cardboard box quite like a nice orgasmic release. So get down to your homeless shelter or get down to a street corner, help a bloke out and get his day started the right way. You never know, it could inspire him to get into that kind of industry as well. And we're all about helping the homeless down here. We've all done our bit for Handjobs for the Homeless. My elbows are sore. It's like tennis elbow, but it's wanker's elbow. So you're just constantly jerking penises off with your elbows. And it's quite a wear on the old knuckles as well. Now, we have the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix that's just happened last weekend, and it was a humdinger of a race. There was a lot of back and forth with the front. Cars are looking like we sort of reserved ourselves and saying, is this going to be a much closer racing category because of the new style of cars and being able to follow much closer? And going by Saudi Arabia, which is quite a fast-flowing circuit, these guys could actually sit right behind one another. So, better racing, better overtaking, still Latifi crashes. I think that's quite a constant thing that's going to be happening. Some of the talking points, DRS playtime. Now, we did see Charles Leclerc use the DRS quite brilliantly in Bahrain, and he used it again in Saudi Arabia. Max Verstappen had the faster car in a straight line, managed to get past him eventually. But I did like the battle back and forth that they were able to jockey for that DRS and then race on. And even when Charles didn't get to the DRS second, they slowed down so much. He's like, listen, if I just go now, he won't be able to get a tow. And that's exactly what happened. Unfortunately, there was a few more laps. Max kind of sat there, really sussed out the situation. Like, all right, how can I get him? Because the way that it's been going, it hasn't been working. And he thought his way through it. If the race ended a little bit earlier, it would have been done and dusted. He wouldn't have actually had that time to think about it. And these guys are using DRS. They're being smart. They're being intelligent drivers and using it to their advantage. And I am all for that. It brings another mental side of it. It's not just about barging your bloke off the road. It's actually about thinking about how you can outsmart him, and it's going to be a good battle. And they both enjoyed it. They both came out of the car with a smile on their face, and that's what we want to see. It's good stuff. Love the DRS playtime. And this weekend in Melbourne, they're going to have so much playtime with 4 DRS zones. I think this is the first time a race has had 4 DRS zones, and they've configured a bit of the track, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, but they're going to have 4 of them. So think about the shenanigans, the back and forths that they can have and play around with this. And make the whole thing DRS. I think there might be a bit of instability with the back of the car in certain corners if they're flicking that DRS early, and I can't wait. I'm interested. Not down in Melbourne, couldn't get down there. Our FIA accreditation was revoked for unruly and sexual misconduct, which I completely understand. both Adam and I did manage to spoon a couple of unwanted marshals. They took particular umbrage to that and said, you know what? You are going to have to miss out the next time we have a race, which 2 years later, it's happening. They're in Melbourne. It's exciting. And the new track, the new layout, V8 supercars down there, the S5000 series is down there. You got Porsche Carrera Cup, you got celebrities, you got the fucking comedy festival down there as well at the moment. You've got the AFL, the Australian Football League series going on down there too. Heaps to go down to Melbourne for, only if you're double vaccinated, because the Premier down there hates anyone who isn't. But what else happened? Hamilton, Saudi Arabia, where'd he go? I think the whole missile crisis that happened at the Aramco oil refinery it shook some drivers. And I think they came to a consensus. They didn't want it to happen. They wanted to sort of go, you know what, this is a bit dangerous. People are flying within, I think it was 10 kilometres, 6 miles from the track where this facility is. I didn't actually know the exact meterage from it. But I think any time there's a bit of an explosion, it's going to leave you a little bit uneasy. So long meetings, team meetings, driver meetings that went on for hours after free practice 2. Max Verstappen said he could smell something burning. I'm not sure if that was before the fire, but I think maybe it was something that Checo had cooked earlier that he smelt the burning of. But they continued on. They were assured that the Houthi rebels, the ones that fired the missiles at the oil refinery, they'd done it before. They'd done it during the Formula E race, apparently, and they'd done it the week before as well. And the Saudi government was saying, listen, they're going to be targeting facilities, not people. They haven't targeted civilians, even though Saudi Arabia have managed to bomb the Yemen people for quite some time. Which, funnily enough, has since the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix they have had a bit of a ceasefire. So that's good news for Yemen, and for the people of Yemen. They've actually had a chance to not be bombed, which is always nice considering you're one of the poorest countries in the world. So good on you, Saudi Arabia. Maybe you should just continue not bombing someone else. But who am I to comment? I'm a dickhead with a microphone in Australia talking about Formula One. The Alpine battle between Alonso and Ocon, it was on. It was handbags at 4 paces. These guys were having a good old dig, pushing him right up against the pit wall. At one stage there, Alonso got the better of him until Alonso had his issue that took him out of the race. There was 3 retirements on pretty much the same lap. Daniel Ricciardo, Valtteri Bottas and Fernando Alonso. Very unfortunate for these guys. Looks like Daniel was in for a chance at a point or 2. Same with Alonso and Valtteri. Big shame for them. The only missiles that were on track was Nicholas Latifi, who managed to crash during the race. So congratulations, Nick. You did a great job. Fantastic job just crashing the wall, causing the safety car, which really did ruin Perez's race. And I wonder if he got any death threats over that one, because he certainly did over the Abu Dhabi one, which cost Lewis Hamilton a championship. But did he get any death threats for ruining Sergio Perez's race? Or do people not care about Sergio Perez because he's not Lewis Hamilton? Do these Lewis Hamilton virtue signalers not quite like that Sergio Perez could have won a race? Now, Nicholas Latifi, congratulations, because there's one thing. Well, you get a couple of awards later on. And you know what? I'll go through the awards right now. Now, Latifi gets a green award for saving the environment, for retiring early on in the race, and he saved some fuel. He's thinking the environment. Congratulations, Nicholas Latifi. You're an exceptional driver. I'll give you that. And no one else can hit the wall quite like you. And to bring out a safety car, nonetheless. Let's give a race rating out of 10, a new thing. Give the race out of 10. What do you think it is? Let me know on the socials. Let me know on Twitter or Instagram. Say, this is what I thought the race was out of 10. Myself, personally, I think it was a 9 out of 10. There's a fair bit of battles throughout the race with a whole bunch of drivers. It wasn't just, 15th and 16th having a good ding-dong battle. It was quite a few. The only bugaboo that I have, and it's got nothing to do with the race, it's about the race director, which I have constantly complained about, and I will continue to complain about until something changes. When you have just seen an overtake or a battle at the front, what do? Bang, they go straight to a replay of it. Like, they're still battling. There's still a race going on. While you're showing this off, they're still battling, and we're not seeing that battle because you're showing a replay of the previous battle. Now, we all saw it, and if anyone missed it, tough tits, go to YouTube, watch it later. But right now, we're watching a live sporting event. These guys are battling for the race win. Why go back every single time? As soon as they go through turn 1 and 2, bang, they go into the next replay. Why? When they start the race, after 2 laps, boom, they're going into a replay. Just wait. Give it a bit. Just be patient. You don't have... There's other things going on, and focus on that stuff instead of going straight to a replay to explain what's going on when nothing really went on. Think about it, Formula 1. Get your race director, pull his finger out. It's shit. Could be better. Now, this is your brand. Stop ruining it with bad directing. All right. Stepping back, taking a breath. So the race ended with Max Verstappen first, Charles Leclerc second, Carlos Sainz third, so that's Mad Max, the Chosen One, and Minifon Sainz into the second award. We give it the Likert and Senate Award, and it's going to go to Verstappen and Leclerc, purely on their battle back and forth. They took a dive on each other. They did well. It was clean racing. It was fun to watch, and it was, it was a 3 a.m. race start. So for me to be awake at that time, it had to be exciting. I would have drifted off. Didn't. Kept me going for the whole race, and even watched probably about 45 minutes after the race of interviews because I was wired. It was a very good race. Very interested to see this battle continue on for the rest of the year. Sergio Perez deserved that win too. He got that pit stop in early. If Sergio didn't come in, Leclerc was going to come in, and then that would have fucked Leclerc's race. It would have been a Red Bull 1-2. But Sergio went in. And what happened after that? Safety car came out. It was a VSC, and then it became a safety car. So these guys all got their pit stops much quicker and done in a time where you can't go fast. So therefore, Perez loses out big time. Unfortunately for him, he had control of the race. He was a couple seconds ahead. You could see how difficult it was for Leclerc to catch up to Verstappen towards the end, just by the pure grunt that Red Bull does have behind it, which both of them lasted the race. So congratulations, Red Bull. So Likert and Senate Award both to Verstappen and Leclerc. I could have given one to Alonso as well for his battle with for young Esteban French stick Ocon. But we're going to give it to the guys at the front. They did a phenomenal job. The Pastor Maldonado Award for dangerous driving. There's only one guy, and he's a danger to himself. And I spoke of him. He got the green award before. It's Nicholas Latifi. Congratulations, Nicholas. Wow. To bring danger just completely onto yourself. Congratulations. Well done. The next award is the Effing One Podcast Award for making Formula One great again. And we're giving it to the Houthi rebels, the people who bombed, sent a missile, didn't kill anyone, just blew up an oil refinery just to sort of really piss off the Saudis. And they did a fantastic job of it. Did put a lot of, I myself was like, listen, if they're going to be bombing anywhere near, just go home, forget about it, tear up the contract. But I think there was some communications that was kind of misconstrued. I misconstrued it myself when they said, it may be difficult for teams to get out of Saudi Arabia. Teams and equipment may be difficult. So a lot of people took that as a threat, as if to go, wait a minute, this isn't cool. Keeping these guys, because you're in a foreign country, they could, hold you up, they could detain you, they could do whatever they want. Any country could do that. But I think it was more leading towards the commercial flights and the flights that people had available, may not be available when they want them. So, they all have plans Sunday night to fly out. It's not easy to just go, hey, we're going to change, a couple hundred people in the paddock to just fly out on a Friday night or a Saturday morning. It may not be feasible. So I think that's what they were more leaning into. They'd been assured that they were safe. But in terms of getting everyone on edge, that's what made F1 great this weekend. Got him on edge. I'm not sure how much sleep Lewis Hamilton got because he was not on form compared to his teammate George Russell, who stepped up for the Mercedes team. So the Yuji Ide Award for just basically shit driving, wasting everyone's time. And as much as he's not in Formula One right now, I'd like to give a shout out to Nikita Mazepin for just being the shittest driver out there. So congratulations, Nikita. You get the Yuji Ide Award even though you weren't at the Grand Prix. And the last award, now I need my audio for this one. We all need this. I'm going to go here. It's worth the wait. It's long, but it's worth the wait. And the Your Shit award goes to 7-time Formula One World Champion Lewis Hamilton because you're a bit shit. Congratulations, Lewis. You didn't have a win, but you didn't get a podium, but you do get the Your Shit award. You might have to dust for Nikita Mazepin's fingerprints off that one as well. Fastest lap, Charles Leclerc with 1 minute 31.364. Fastest pit stop was McLaren with a 2.41 second pit stop. And the driver of the day, voted by all the people in the world except for me, was Charles Leclerc. Now, the most important championship outside of the drivers and constructors in Formula One is the Third Championship. Now, this is the reverse championship. So if you finish 20th, you get negative 25 points. Third Championship works in negatives. So if you are the shittest, you win the Third Championship trophy, which is a fantastic piece of shit that Pete has whittled through his sphincter on a nice slab of oak. He's rolled it in glitter to give it a bit of sparkle. So whoever gets his sparkly shit at the end of the year, you will put it on your mantelpiece with a bit of pride. But right now, the leader of the Third Championship, it's pretty tight up there. Junior Schumacher was on negative 26. He didn't compete in the race. He had a massive shunt in qualifying, put himself out of action, and he didn't race on the Sunday. It was a huge crash. So he gets negative 25 for not starting the race. And he got, I think he finished 11th in Bahrain, so that gives him negative 26 points. Gasman, negative 25. Latifi on negative 25. Mad Max Verstappen, negative 18. The personality, Daniel Ricciardo on negative 18. Swery Tsunoda also on that negative 18. The Tijuana Tussler, Sergio Perez, Tijuana Tussler, he's negative 15. The talented Nico Hülkenberg, which we may not see for the rest of the year until someone else gets COVID, he's negative 14. Then we've got the TIE Fighter, Alexander Albon. He's negative 10. The Fons Alonso, he's also negative 10. We have two gentlemen on negative 8. We've got Beras Bottas, and we have Chuck Norris. Daddy Boy Stroll on negative 6, and negative 1 coming 11th in his second Grand Prix, Zhou Guanyu. We're calling him Great Wall because he's from China. So the Great Wall, Guanyu Zhou, or Zhou Guanyu, the Great Wall. Fantastic nickname. Congratulations, Guanyu. You're finally in the Third Championship in your second race. Well done. Tips. It's tied up the top. Myself and Pat were on 28. Good result from Pat. Was 2 points clear of everyone in the last race. I got the first race by 2 points. I think I was on 14. So Cliff's on 26. Luke 28, Jimmy 25, T's on 24, Marcus 24, Pat 28, Adam 24, and Pete 24 points. Now, That's Saudi Arabia wrapped up in a turban, and we are heading on to the next race, the Australian Grand Prix, my home Grand Prix. And no, it's not the Nerang Grand Prix, even though it should be, and we know it should be. It's not. It's still in Melbourne, but they've made changes because the track's a bit shit. Doesn't attract a lot of overtaking. So they've asked a few drivers. Daniel Ricciardo is one of them, and an ex-supercar driver got involved in it as well, talked about how they can improve the track. Now, so what they've done is they've widened a few corners, they've cambered in a few corners, and they've also taken out 2 corners. So it's not a 16-corner track, it is now a 14-corner track. Now, apparently turn 1 has been opened up. The apex looks to be a little bit shorter, so it's still going to be braking opportunity. You could possibly make an overtake. It's not a long braking because it's been opened up, so it's a little bit quicker. There is no fastest lap. There is no track record. This was a brand new track. It's a different layout. They will be a lot faster in regards to the track time because turns 9 and 10 have been taken out, and that was a significant braking opportunity down into 9-10, which had a great spectator hill. The spectator hill's still there, but they don't get to stop there. It's actually being replaced by a DRS zone. Now, I don't know if anyone's actually played the Albert Park track on any of the F1 games, but before you go down into the stop of turn 9-10, there's actually a piece of tarmac that goes to the right, which is its public road. So that one that goes to the right, they're going to be following that one that goes along to the right. They've widened it for the cars, but that track that was previously there, they're now going that way. They're not stopping down what would have been the old turn 9-10. They've opened up turn 1, reprofiled a bit of turn 3. Now turn 5, it's not a change to the track itself, but what they've actually done is they've brought, now the turn 5 barrier used to be a significant distance away from the edge of the track. Now I watched the Thursday stuff with Carrera Cup, the Porsches and the supercars here in Australia, and they both made an absolute fucking mess of the Tech Pro barriers that were there. Now, when they restarted second qualifying for the supercars, they're actually taken out half of that Tech Pro barrier, which I think is a very, very smart thing to do, because I've no doubt one or many of our talented drivers in Formula One will make an absolute mess of that barrier as well. There's been some big shunts in there over the time. I remember someone ran wide, got a bit of airborne and smashed into the outside of that wall, coming back across, just littering the track with carbon fibre. But this time, they've put that barrier right on the edge, and I think they might need to take, they may not be able to take the barrier back, but they might be able to take, like it used to be a tyre wall with a belt around the outside, typical tyre wall, but they've put that Tech Pro barrier on the outside of it as well to absorb some impact, which it will absorb impact, but those Tech Pro barriers just rip to shred and spread polystyrene all over the place. It's a cunt to clean up, but also it's just too close to a very, very fast corner that you just need a little bit of leeway. You need that little bit of wiggle room where right now, as of today, Thursday, they don't have that wiggle room. So hopefully common sense comes in Friday or something happens Friday and then they go, okay, we need to move this barrier back. We need to go back with what we had at that corner because it's just going to make it, give these drivers a little bit. I know you think put a wall there, then they should drive to the wall, but you know, the supercars guys didn't turn in. You run wide, you're straight, you don't get a chance to fix that up. So I think there's just a little bit of common sense. You can come through with it and it will all work out. Because the mess and how much time it took to clean it up, then also replace those Tech Pro barriers, as we've had red flags in the past with Saudi Arabia the year before. Once they damaged that barrier, red flag came out, changed the state of the race. So let's just have a bit of common sense down at that Tech Pro barrier, turn 5, make it a little bit wider. But they've taken out, I think they've reprofiled a bit of turn 6, have they? I think they've just changed the shape of it. So they've gone a little bit wider. So you can kind of, it's not as heavy braking area as it used to be. It's a little bit of a quick and easy slingshot into turn 8. So it's not as much as a heavy braking area. And then it's pretty much flat out from turn 7 through 8 will be flat out. And then you've got a DRS zone, the third DRS zone of the lap. So between the last corner, main straight, into your first corner, there's your first DRS. Between turn 2 and 3, you've got another DRS between turn 8 and 9. So the fastest 2 corners, which used to be turn 11 and 12. My favourite corners now turn 9 and 10. The fast flick change of directions. And then after turn 10, you have a DRS zone down into turn 11, which is apparently being reprofiled. So has turn 13, which is the second last corner. They've made it a little bit wider with a little bit more of a camber. Trying to promote side-by-side racing, different lines. Now, as the race goes on, there'll be marbles, that racing line. But in terms of the first lap, second lap, they could probably run side-by-side through a few corners, which is going to be very, very interesting to see. That's the circuit length is now 5.278 kilometres, 58 laps. The first Grand Prix was held in 1996. And the race distance is 306.124 kilometres. As I said, no track record. This is a new track layout, so track record is out the window. Supercars are doing a decent lap. I think they got into the 40s, 1 minute 40s, I think, which is pretty quick. The tyres for this weekend are the C2, C3, and C5. So no C4. Didn't go with the usual 3 compounds together. They've split it up, which is good to see. So the C2, C3, C5. So that's the C5 is the softest tyre that Pirelli have. The C3 and C2 are the middle. C3 is the middle and C2 is the second hardest. So they've got a little difference to play with. Could be a one-stop strategy. I think some are leaning more towards a 2-stop just to have a bit of fun. Supercars were doing a 1 minute 45 for their qualifying. So expect F1 to be blisteringly quick along this track. And hopefully they move some of those Tech Pro barriers out of the way. The weather will be fine. It's going to be a little bit chilly Friday morning of 13 to 23 degrees. Saturday 15 to 25 and Sunday 17 to 27, jumping 2 degrees in the minimum and maximum on both days. Earlier on in the week, it was a chance around 4 o'clock to have a bit of a shower, but that's moved on to later in the evening, so there may not be any rain. Hopefully there is. That'd be nice. Spice things up towards the end. We all know, if you don't, or if you've never been to Melbourne, what is quite common knowledge is Melbourne is very used to having 4 seasons in a day. So you could be cold, windy, then it'll be hot, sunny, then it'll be raining, and it's just a bit of everything all rolled into one each day in Melbourne, so you never know what you're going to get, which spices things up. It'll change track temperatures, and it'll be not so straightforward, hopefully. As the weekend goes on, the track temperature will go up, so looking forward to that. I'll be sitting at home as opposed to trackside. By the time I'd got information that the accreditation had been denied, they said to go to the national officer and apply through them. So I applied through them. They said, no, we've already expired. They had to be applied for a couple of weeks before that. I'm like, I put my application in a month, but unfortunately it didn't go through. By that time, all the general admission, everything had been sold out, which is great for the event. Not great for me. I think I've only missed one Formula One race in Melbourne since 2002. So it's weird watching it on TV. And I know my favourite pizza place, my favourite Indian, my favourite chocolate place, Cocoa Black. I'm very much missing out on that. And Melbourne, around Grand Prix time, is a great vibe, especially when you have the International Comedy Festival, seeing comedians during the night, catching up on some AFL as well. It's a great time to be in Melbourne. Much prefer a third race of the year. The good thing is you kind of know your expectations when you go into Melbourne, where previous years when it starts the championship, you don't know who's quickest. You don't know what's going on, especially this year's cars. But we all know where they are now. There's a pecking order, and you can kind of go into it with a little bit of expectation of who's going to be good or not. And you can also have a random roughie that'll come up, and looking forward to it this weekend. It'll be weird sitting on the couch, but fun times will be had for sure. I'll try and get Adam over. He said he was going to come do the Thursday night. Unfortunately, he has family commitments. His kids won't go to bed. I've suggested a rubber mallet or a little bit of Rehypnol. I'm sure Adam's got a few of those spare. But get those little kittens to sleep. But unfortunately, you listen to me on my own once again. The Ford DRS zones now, Daniel Ricciardo, the new layout that he sort of had a bit of a hand in, and whatever Daniel Ricciardo touches tends to have a tinge of gold, a silver lining to this layout. And it would probably suit the McLaren this weekend as well, not to suit the McLaren in terms of win, but suit the McLaren in terms of points. It's fast flowing, where the McLaren really seems to struggle with slower corners. If it was the old Melbourne layout, you would have some difficulty for the McLaren boys. But I think with this faster layout, and it is a lot faster, especially that out of turn 8, they are just flat chat all the way through there. It's going to be I'm really looking forward to this new track. And with these new cars, these guys can follow nice and closely. And it's spicing things up. Great to see. A few corners, as I said, white, open up. Now, the bit of a news that's happened, not many people are aware of this, but actually a lot of the freight that's going around the world, and we've done this in an effing what segment, that all teams will have sea freight. So they will have like their pit gantries, things that they take to a Grand Prix that doesn't need to be like worked on, or it's kind of, this is it, this is our setup, so this is going. So they have 5 to 6 shipping containers that will go on to sea freight and will go to countries well in advance. So they would send them 3 months out, and then they'd go from one to the next, and then they would they'd go to Melbourne, and the next one could be a race in like 3 months' time, where it can't be brought in by truck, it'll be brought in by sea freight. But since with COVID and everything that's going on, it's taking a lot longer for these containers to get in and out of countries, or to go from one port to the next. And a lot of the team's stuff was stuck in Singapore as of last week, and they wouldn't have made it to Melbourne in time. So a lot of the teams, which wouldn't have been a bad idea, they would have to change all of their wheels by hand, which would be nice. I think if they just do it, everyone just lifts the car up. There's one guy just cranking it, trying to get it off, and then trying to get it back on, just tighten it up with a simple bolt there, just fucking tighten that thing up. Of course, it would be shit for Haas, because a couple of wheels would fall off, as they normally do in Melbourne. So yeah, I think DHL stepped up, one of the title sponsors of Formula One. DHL took a couple of planes to Singapore, got and rescued these stricken. I'm going to call them stricken. They were just waiting there. They weren't going to make it to Melbourne, so they're like, right, let's grab them off the ship, chuck them in these jets, and we will fly them to Melbourne. They got there on the Monday, and all crises averted. All teams will have their pit gantries, their pit equipment, and everything that they need to do. So like the wall that they call the Pratt wall, where all the team bosses, top engineers sit on the pit wall, and pit gantries inside, all the drawers, all the facades that are inside, the lighting, everything you see in pit lane from where the team is, the vast majority of that equipment that will go from different pit lane to pit lane all around the world. That's the same stuff that will go in the sea freight. A lot of the fly freight is your cars, any of the stuff that requires upgrading and stuff, that will go with air freight. All the really important stuff and the people unfortunately, there's no sea freight personnel. Maybe they should. Just have a couple. It's a couple sea freighters. We'll call them seamen. And apparently the price has gone up as well. So the price has gone up for the sea freight. Apparently they used to be at $900 to get a container, which is pretty reasonable if you think about it. $900 to go from one country to the next, and it's gone up to about $20,000, which is a considerable increase. I don't know if anyone's blaming Ukraine, Russia, or COVID for that one, not quite sure, but the price has gone up significantly. But thanks to DHL, did the great thing, got them off the boat, chucked them in a plane, and got them to Melbourne in time. So thank you, DHL. But maybe a way to make Formula One great again is having manual tyre changes. But the one thing that I do have, the idea to make Formula One great again, yes, I thought of one. And this might be a bit controversial. Some people may not agree with this. It may not be some people's taste. But hear me out. And the idea to make Formula One great again, it may not make the race better, but you think about your partner, your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whatever you've got who's not listening to this, and they hear you watching Formula One, they hear you talking about Formula One, they hear you listening to this piece of shit, and they're like, I'm not interested. Fuck this. You're on your own. Leave me alone. What you need to do, and this is how we make Formula One great again, is sex toys shaped into your favourite track. Vibrators, dildos, whatever you want. If you want a gigantic horse penis, but it's just in the shape of Spa. Bit of a French tickler, a vibrator at the top, a bit like Austria. You think about these tracks and you say, hey love, I bought you this. While you're enjoying the Formula One, they can enjoy themselves. You know, I'm sure you could get a Hungaroring butt plug. Looks like it'd be a lot of fun. It's got a little handle at the top of the Hungaroring with the first and last corners having a nice little roundabout. You can get your fingers behind that. There you go. Win-win. They're satisfied. You're watching a Grand Prix. You're happy. Tell you what, I'm saving marriages as well as Formula One. This is how you make Formula One great again, by this silly, stupid podcast. But hey, sex toys for the significant others. That is my idea to make Formula One great again. Saving your relationship so you can continue to listen to this and watch Formula One at the same time. Now, the previous winner of the Australian Grand Prix is Valtteri Bottas. Lewis Hamilton was on pole the last time they were in Melbourne. A couple of years ago, 2019 it was, before the two cancellations in 2020 and 2021. Now I'm sitting here, I've got my food, thanks to Mum. Now I've got two delicacies. Now I'm not sure. People in England listening, hi, how you going? We've got some bangers, not uncommon to you. But what we do, it's called an Aussie taco. Now, that was something I'd come up with. It's been patented, so if anyone uses Aussie taco, they can go fuck themselves. So it's basically a sausage, a cooked sausage. It's kind of like Americans will be going, wait a minute, we know where this is going. You're going to put it in between a bun. You're right, but fuck the bun. We're going with a simple one slice of bread with some onion, like grilled onion, off the barbecue, or if you've got a hot plate, whack it up on the hot plate, char the fucking shit out of it, put it on, bit of sauce. If you want mustard, if you're a freak, if you've got barbecue sauce, do that too. And that is what we call an Aussie taco. You're thinking it's a hot dog. It's not. It's a slice of bread. It's not a bun. It's an Aussie taco. That's what it is. And alongside the Aussie tacos, we have witchetty grubs. Now, for our Indigenous Australians, our First Nations people in our country here, it's significant to pay homage to them with one of their local delicacies. Now, witchetty grubs you'll find if you peel the bark off certain types of trees, you'll find witchetty grubs sitting there. And I tell you what, grab them. I've had one as a kid. pop it in your mouth, you'll get a burst of flavour, or the burst of the insides of that witchetty grub, and it's a bit chewy, but it's not as bad as you think it is. I used to eat green ants as a kid too. Now they weren't very nice. They were a bit bitter. I wouldn't recommend it. So say no to green ants, but go thumbs up for the witchetty grubs. Smash them down. Got my Aussie tacos here. Going to smash that down too. Enjoy the Australian Grand Prix. Now remember, follow us on the socials. Give us a like. Hopefully, at one point we'll be able to get a co-host in, so it's not just me talking to myself. But thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Now, before I just leave you guys hanging, I know there's one more thing I need to do, and that is the Australian Grand Prix race times. Now, in Auckland, no early starts for you. None of this 6 a.m., 3 a.m. bullshit you've had to deal with. No. And you guys are all out of daylight savings too. So Auckland, New Zealand, you're looking at 5 p.m. on a Sunday afternoon. Oof, nice time. You can whack the barbie in after that. Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne, the whole east coast of Australia, you're looking at 3 p.m. for the race on Sunday. Adelaide, 2:30. Perth, 1 p.m. Kathmandu, Nepal, if you're watching up on Mount Everest, 10:45 a.m. Helsinki in Finland, 8 a.m. Copenhagen, Denmark, 7 a.m. London, England, 6 a.m. Montevideo, Uruguay, 2 a.m. Sunday morning, Los Angeles, 10 p.m. But poor New York, 1 a.m. That's a killer. But thankfully for you guys, you don't get that very often. It's only just for our Grand Prix here. So enjoy the race weekend. Enjoy the Australian Grand Prix. Let me know what you think of the race. Give us a rating out of 10 if you thought it was a decent race. If it was a shit show, give it a fuck all 0. But enjoy the F1. Wish I could be down there, but I'll be talking to you to wrap up the Australian Grand Prix and to preview the next one. Have a good weekend.